of everything you've learned. Would you say this is the iconic statement that you want people to take away from everything you're working on, Darrell?
Absolutely. Like I said, it isn't an overnight process to change your mindset, but once you've made that decision, I am going to be a different person starting right here, right now, then I believe you have a totally different outlook going forward.
Now, let's talk about the meaning of self-esteem. Does it mean I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, and I say, hey, you're not so damn bad-looking, kid, and you have a decent brain, you're living in a nice place, you got good learning and skills and tools, you have a good job, so go do something wonderful today? Is that self-esteem, or is self-esteem saying when somebody says to me, hey, move over, I was on line first, you don't curse at them, you say, yes, you're right, I'm going to move over because I don't want you to beat the crap out of me. What is self-esteem? How do you define it?
I believe it's your first analogy. Certainly the other is some common courtesy from time to time. Sometimes you have to just let somebody have their way so that you don't make an issue. But I believe it's your first analogy in that you believe in yourself to the point that you will take action and you will go out and you'll do what you need to do, which is always more difficult than when we think, but yet we persevere and we do it.
Now, you studied real estate down the line, and you ended up with the man who taught you. And by the way, in your book, you mentioned that each step of building your businesses, you brought on board people who were experts, and they trained you for days or weeks or years at a time. So you recognized the value of hooking up with and making positive relationships with people who had the knowledge you needed and were willing to partner with you. That's something I think a lot of people don't get that part. What I was going to ask you was, would you say that what Glenn and Laura went through together, learning how to survive in Costa Rica, even for the 7 months, and just reacclimating, was that a couple's self-esteem? Yes, we can do it. Yes, we can stick together. Yes. Do you see any segue there from what you're teaching people to what they did?
Absolutely. One of the things that they did was they spent a lot of time educating themselves. They both talked about that they would read this journal, they'd read that journal, as far as information. They'd search Google to find out information on this. I am a huge proponent of educating the daylights out of yourself. Brian Tracy, which is a speaker that I've listened to for years, says if you read for 1 hour a day for 1 year, you'll have enough information on that subject to become an expert. And if you read for 1 hour a day for 5 years, you'll have enough information to be considered an international expert. There is Google, and the Internet will allow you to educate yourself to become an expert in anything you choose, but that is the key. They chose to go to Costa Rica, and they chose to educate themselves so that they, nothing, when you jump in, nothing's ever quite what you assume, but they at least were pretty well prepared for what they took on.
Exactly. And now I want to backtrack. I mentioned your real estate career. You knew nothing about it. You're in, I know you're 54 or around there now, and you certainly, if you're still investing in real estate, it has not been a great market for the past, 5, 6, 8 years now. And how did you tell yourself that you wanted to get into the process of buying properties and developing them or rehabbing them or rebuilding them and turning them around and profiting, and you set a goal by a certain date in July in a certain year, you wanted X number of properties, you missed it by 13 days, which you made note of in your book. How did you get into the idea that real estate was going to be it for you, that was going to be your main income stream, or is it your main income stream?
Well, I've had the good fortune of taking 5 companies, national and international, in 35 years. And so the real estate business was my income stream for that period of time. But I've had the good fortune of having 5 pretty healthy occupations, so to speak. I've owned 5 different companies, and I ended up selling each of those companies and it happened to be that I sold them at the right place at the right time.
There you go.
Sometimes you're just lucky in life, and luck sometimes plays a part in it. It's not just all that you've worked so hard. Sometimes you're just lucky.
Do you still believe that real estate is a good investment today, Darrell? Because I know things really haven't improved yet. We're still suffering here in the Northeast with very depressed prices and dropping value. Any advice, just quickly?
Sure. In my opinion, we're starting to see the economy sag just a little bit again. Now, the Northeast, where you're at, I've read that the Northeast is starting to pick up, and the prices in a number of major cities are actually starting to pick up. But small, it depends on where you're at. If you're in some of the major cities in the Northeast, you're probably okay, but it's not going to grow significantly. So my personal opinion is it's not a good time to buy and hold. If you're going to fix something up and you're going to sell it quickly, then if you get a good enough education, then that's a good business model. But buying and holding right now, unless you have significant amount of cash, in my opinion, is not the thing to do.
Interesting. And Glenn and Laura, you did buy land in Costa Rica, right? And how are you doing with that?
We did. It's on the coast, it's remote, and it was incredibly speculative. So when something goes up, for 12 years, it goes down. But luckily we had done it early enough before the bubble burst that we're treading a little south of even, but not too bad.
Not bad at all. Now, speaking of wealth, I want to ask Darrell, tell us a little bit briefly before we bring Michael B. Harris on. Tell me about your TrueWealthUniversity.com. What is that? Is that one of your businesses that you held on to?
It is. I originally used to teach seminars on buying, fixing up, and selling real estate, how to turn properties and add value to them so that you can make money. And True Wealth University was that avenue. But it went 3 years ago, I had a few people die on me suddenly that I wasn't quite ready for. And so that kind of took me by surprise. And so I sold most of my real estate holdings. And I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so I had a little bit different story than the rest of the world. And, this is not exactly correct, but close. The day that they said the world is going down the tubes, Volkswagen, now we're in a town of 177,000. The day they decided that the rest of the world was going down the tubes, Volkswagen decided that they would put a large manufacturing facility in Chattanooga.
Oh, dear.
And then,
wow.
Just a few months after they decided to put a large manufacturing facility, Amazon.com decided to put 2 1 million square foot distribution centers. One was right across the street from the Volkswagen plant, and the other one was 25 miles up the road.
Oh, my goodness.
We got thrown a life raft that was very different than the rest of the country at the time.
And I can hear you all singing Chattanooga Choo-Choo. Why don't you choo-choo me home? Because you were home, right?
I was very lucky.
Forgive me for that.
Yeah, it's hard to know that you're going to have that stroke of luck. But fortunately, I've had a magical life, and I've had lots of strokes of luck in my lifetime. So.
Well, you have, and I want people to go to True Wealth University. I'm going to spell that, and then we're going to bring Michael on, who's waiting patiently on hold. TrueWealthUniversity.com. TrueWealthUniversity.com. And I always say thank goodness for long URL. So Darrell Knoch, pleasure talking to you, and I'm going to ask you to stay on the line with Glenn Timaldeo and Laura.
Mommy?
Yes, dear.
I have a gift for your listeners if you'd like me to share it with.
Sure, go ahead.
I have a coin that is, I don't know if you remember that gratitude coin.
I do. I'm looking at it on your website. Click here to receive a free gratitude coin, and you will send that to people.
Any of your listeners go to my website and click on that free gratitude coin, and put their name and address in there. I'll send them a free gratitude coin.
Thank you very much, and we're grateful to you for that.